I'm thrilled to be your host for this segment on a Monday, January 6th, and I'm just going to go ahead and say Happy New Year once again, even though I already said that on New Year's Day. And Happy New Year to my guests, and you're my first person to interview in the new year and the new decade, Jason. How about that?
Thank you, and Happy New Year to you as well.
So I know we're going to talk about dining and the events that are going to be coming up in January, but I thought since we are starting a brand new year, and to a certain extent, not to a certain extent, but a new decade, which is even kind of wow. Let's talk maybe just briefly some of the challenges that confront you in dining services going into the new year. And then also I want, on the flip side, some of the things that you're really excited about for this year.
You know, I think challenges with dining, I think for 2020, the first one that comes to mind is just, once again, we still have a lot of construction. So later on, I'm going to talk about the cafe reopening, which is great, but we have Cork and Fork, which is still under construction.
That's that new restaurant people have been kind of watching on the second floor of Town Center.
Correct. Okay. Yeah. And then also, too, which I don't know from a visual standpoint and from an actual experience standpoint how much it'll affect residents, but we are planning in 2020 to go in and complete the kitchen renovation of Garden Ridge. So with that, Garden Ridge will be working out of another kitchen, and we will be transporting our foods and products over to Garden Ridge for a short period of time. But like I said, I don't think that is going to really impact residents a whole lot. But from a dining standpoint, it's a big thing for us, and it's a lot of focus. I would say the next thing that we're always looking at is as our economy and our local economy keep becoming stronger, our unemployment rates are very low in this area. So really finding and maintaining great talent is always something that we're looking for. We're really looking in 2020 in the development of our team and future growth for those individuals. So you're going to see probably more promotions, and we've added some, we took some positions from hourly supervisors and converted over to managers, or in that process to give more stability and more future growth for those individuals. We're also looking at really the overall resident experience, and one of the areas that we know we want additional support in is the training and development of our student wait staff. So we're looking at taking some of our high performing students and actually making them those kind of service coaches and trainers to have more certified trainers. We have a more defined training program to have consistency across the community.
Yeah, I didn't realize that they weren't there. I mean, coming 6 years ago, you always heard about the service coaches.
It kind of went away in the regards of it wasn't someone's kind of main responsibility, and so we're adding that back in just because of the amount of servers we have and training that needs to happen. And it's not you do it for 2 weeks and then everyone's good for the next 3 years. It's kind of going back and revisiting and updating, and also too, as we grow our program and offer and do new things, it's great to have that, but if your server can't communicate that and build those relationships with the residents, then it doesn't necessarily equal the same experience we want.
So how many servers do you have right now?
A quick word would be a lot. No, we can easily be over the two. So that's the thing with our servers, sometimes only working 1 or 2 days a week, some work 3 or 4. Our numbers can easily go over 200.
Wow. And when you mentioned that new restaurant and you're talking about, how are you going to staff that if you're having issues?
So with that, one, we start really in advance and kind of look at. The other thing too is when that new restaurant comes online, very quickly, if not almost at about the same time, Fireside will be going down for renovation. So we kind of have that staff, we move over and kind of marry over and then figure out where everyone's going to be placed. The same way as when the cafe had shut down, we had kind of made the makeshift cafe. We have those individuals. We're going to open with that team and then possibly look at maybe adding 1 or 2 additional. Some we already brought in. So that's really kind of our base of if we need additional people looking more in advance. And I think that's something in 2020 we're going to be working more on, is trying to get people in a little bit earlier to make sure that that training and development is happening. So the going from training to going to performing, the transition is a little bit smoother and not as impactful on the residents and on the employee. You know, I think those are kind of the overall things that we're looking at, how we're going to get better.
Well, it sounds like you definitely have a plan in place, which is better than most, I think, people do when it comes to a new year.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, one thing that you are really excited for the new year.
I'm really excited about just our overall team. We had a very successful 2019. And we're trending to keep that going, and seeing the excitement out of our team. You know, I've had some meetings already with some of our culinary leaders. Michael is really geared up and focused on some new things that we're going to be adding to the program, and I think what we want to add is more options, and when we are adding change, instead of taking things away, how do we add more to the program and give more flexibility? We're looking at how do we diversify our menus, but also take care of our resident base who, you know, they only really eat 5 things. And, you know, I always joke, my brother's that way. He literally eats 5 different meals. He rotates, and 2 days are leftovers, and he has the same dietary. That's him, and that works for him. And then you have the opposite end, you know, my mother, who can't eat the same thing within a 30-day period. She has to have something different every time. And I think that's our residents, you know, and so how do we add that variety and options, but we still have that basic core to take care of those individuals who don't have huge, extensive palates, but want really good quality food. You know, one of the big challenges that, you know, we've kind of set up for our culinarians is they keep increasing the overall variety and the quality of what we're doing, and options, and trying to take care of all our residents. And the next piece that we want to see them kind of work more on is the visual presentation of how do we have these looks. And, you know, that's the first thing we actually eat with, right? It's how does something look, then it's how does something smell, and then it's how something tastes, and really kind of focusing on that. And that comes from not our chefs, that comes from the development of our line cooks and the development of our prep cooks and these individuals. And so really working on that development side. So we're really excited about that. From a front of the house standpoint, you know, the word for dining services in 2020 is experience. It's the overall experience. It's not how your meal was. It's how were you greeted? How were you taken to your table? How was the service? How was the feedback? How was the connectivity and relationship? And then it becomes how was the food? And so having that overall experience, I think, is really key. And the managers, you know, really that's the big focus we talk about, is what's the overall experience and how does it impact it. So I think from that standpoint, also too, just getting some of these new spaces, it's giving us more opportunity. You know, I do need to get a little bit better on my diet. Having a new pizza oven and sampling new pizzas that are coming out of the cafe when that opens.
I can help you with that.
Okay, good. I'm sure I can find some volunteers to help out there. But, you know, there's a lot of that training and tasting and trying to find that perfect blend. And, you know, and I'm going to talk about the cafe in a minute, but that's really something that, you know, like you said, a plan. We have a plan when we open. But it's going to take our employee and our resident feedback to really kind of perfect that, and that's kind of a process. But I think that's something we did very well in 2019, and we want to continue in 2020, is listening to all parties involved, and how do we make good decisions based off great information.
Great. So let's talk about that cafe.
We're going to talk about the cafe. So we are having 2 kind of open houses. So this isn't a grand opening. The cafe's not open. You can't use a meal plan. But, and the information you should have received in your cubby, we sent them out on the 2nd and 3rd. They should have been cubby stuff, so the information's there. We're going to have on other places too. But Thursday the 9th and Friday the 10th, we're having 3 different sessions. One's at 10, one, or on Thursday, one's at 10 o'clock, one's at 10:45, and one is at 11:30. And you don't need to sign up or anything. It's just, when we do the open houses, it's nice to kind of get a group and then take the group through the space.
So they're just basically going to tour the...
They're going to tour. We're going to have managers at the different stations. We're going to have some sampling of new items. And it's a conversation, so the first time you come in, you're not trying to figure out where is everything, what do I do when I want to get my meal, and it also gives us a couple days before grand opening. If we see a lot of residents are confused on how something operates or work, we might do a tweak right before we open. If we're hearing, oh, this is a concern, we might be able to make some adjustments right before opening, because we have great visions and plans, but I also don't see it necessarily through the residents' eyes. And so I think this gives that opportunity to get that feedback while we don't have a bunch of staff trying to cook food and deal with all these other pieces. So you'll see that coming out. Friday the 10th, there's a session at 11, there's a session at 11:45, and a session at 12:30.
And they don't have to sign up? They
No,
can just come?
Just show up. But so that's the thing. So like on Friday the 10th, there's an 11 o'clock session. If you show up at 11:10, we've already kind of taken that group through. So the next one wouldn't be till 11:45. So that's kind of more of just be there a couple minutes prior to those times, just so you could be in a group. Also too, from safety and spaces, you know, we want to kind of move everyone through. And we've had a lot of residents kind of poke their head in already and see. So we're having those conversations. So we're looking forward to that. And then on the 13th will be our grand opening. We're going to open the first week just for lunch and dinner, just because it gives us a little bit more time in the morning to prep. And then the following week, you're going to see breakfast open. And then moving forward, you'll see stations open that maybe don't open at the original, but also too, we're going to be adding more. You know, we decided to open with kind of what we had prior in the cafe, because that's what everyone has been experiencing, and then we're going to add more as we get more comfortable in the space, and we also get more feedback from residents in what we're looking for.
So can staff also attend the open house?
Yeah, absolutely. Staff are more than welcome. We want that feedback. And, you know, we're also going to be having a lot of conversations, especially around lunch with staff. We're looking at how do we find quicker grab-and-go items, just because if you're an employee here and you're on break and you have X amount of time, great cook-to-order food is fantastic, but if you want just the tuna on rye, if it was pre-made, you can grab it and go. That gives you more time. And then the positive side, too, for residents is staff aren't in the line as well, and that's kind of the battle we always have. We want to have great places for our staff to dine. We want to have great places for our residents to dine, but there's a time constraint for some, and some it's a line and wait. So a big focus on this cafe was how do we reduce our, from your entry point to checking out, how do we make that quicker? And how do we get people? So you're going to see a lot of stations where you're going to get signs to be able to, if you want to sit down and have your food brought to you, so we have less congestion.
Great. And any other events that we want to touch base before we go?
The big things are the 11th and 18th. You'll see advertising and flyers. So we do this, or at least the last couple of years that I've been here, we've ended up doing them in January. So we do an under 21 staff party, which is primarily our students. We do that on campus. We do modify the hours for that, which are lunch in our lunch spaces is from 11 to 1. And then our dinner spaces is from 3 to 5:30, and then our walk-up carry-out is from 3 to 5. And that'll be on both days. The 11th is the under 21 party. The 18th is the over 21 for employees, and that's off-site. But this gives the ability for them to be able to go enjoy, and we are so thankful to the residents. They're usually big supporters of this. And it's a big, when we talk about retention and we talk about the unemployment rate, a lot of companies have gone away from these, and really recognizing and being able to interact with each other and staff members really means a lot to the employees, and we're very grateful that the residents allow us to make this accommodation. So,
well, it sounds like you have a full month and a full year ahead of you, Jason. So we wish you good luck.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And I know you'll be back next month. And I just want to also say before I let you go that the New Year's Eve Conversations with the Wine show, if you didn't catch it, it's on our YouTube channel. That was terrific, and I know we're going to do more of those into the future, pairing dining with GSV-TV.
We want to do that from that standpoint, and having conversation with Michael. We want to do some cooking shows maybe in our kitchens. So instead of us just putting stuff in a bowl in the studio, you can actually see us cooking to order. So I think that would be great.
And I love cooking shows. So.
I know.
All right, once again, Happy New Year to you.